Yeah, tell you.
Good morning, panelists and audience. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. We are the ambassadors, and we're going to present on the bee bus. My name is Carolina Casantes, and I am a nutritional science major with a business and industry track.
I'm Carter Ham. I'm an ag business major with a minor in business administration.
I'm Shannon Keeling, and I'm an AGTM major.
And I'm Natasha Tauber, I'm also an AGTM major.
The opportunity our group is going to present today is the decline in CTE enrollment. We believe that utilizing the most current virtual reality technology and our super cool bee bus will not only encourage interest in our beekeeping program, but also garner interest in CTE programs in general. You may ask yourselves, what differentiates CTE from typical classroom curriculum? CTE is a well-rounded program that offers applied STEM applications in the class and lab. It also motivates students through recognition and affiliation with career-based groups such as FFA and DECA. It also offers work-based learning applications out in the community. There's a common misconception about CTE and higher education, and that's that you have to choose one over the other. And most students in this classroom will attest that that's not the case. You can have both. The reality of CTE, however, is that you'll notice most of the time is now spent in class instruction rather than in work-based learning or in other organizations, again, such as DECA or FFA. Enrollment in CTE has been on the decline, about 14% annually since 1980, as well as a $30 million educational budget cut in Arizona in 2015. Those two together have left schools struggling for not just budget, but also it has made the CTE program struggle with bringing their visibility to the forefront of young high school students. The reality is that we need to bring our students and CTE together. The benchmarks we chose are the Belkate School, which is located in Vermont. It's a charter school that does also require an extra tuition fee of about $30,000 per year per student. So that's quite a hefty chunk of money for just about anybody. It does provide learning for students with varying learning and physical abilities. However, it does use agriculture every step of the way through their learning content, whether it's math, reading, science. They are actually out on a farm learning. The other benchmark we chose is the Bee Perfect concept. It is 100% online. It's very low cost with the basic beekeeping free of charge. So anyone who's interested in learning beekeeping can get the information online. They also do offer an advanced beekeeping curriculum.
So, what is our solution? We'll be creating a mobile learning experience traveling to various schools in Arizona that are located in urban areas to promote sustainable urban ag, as well as spark interest in gaining CTE skills. This will be done through a virtual reality curriculum. By utilizing virtual reality, students will be able to engage without actually encountering real bees, using a helmet with a screen that displays a simulation of a three-dimensional environment, allowing for interaction in a seemingly real way. The course material that we are providing beyond the virtual reality will be inspired by Stanford Beekeepers, who is a student organization that conducts beekeeping on campus. Our curriculum will also highlight the importance of bees, relevance of beekeeping, equipment, hive placement, and honey harvesting as well. And so keeping this in mind, I want you to imagine that you're in 8th or 9th grade, you're putting on your headset to begin that VR experience, and it'll look something like this. So as you can see, students will be brought down to the level of an actual honeybee. By doing this, they'll be able to engage and experience real, seemingly real, beekeeping practices. And so our business model, it starts with schools needing more CTE, and that will be what the Bee Bus will provide, and will be funded approximately $200 per student. And the Bee Bus will provide knowledge to students on beekeeping and beekeeping practices, and eventually inspire them to go to our weekend workshops and summer camps, and then hopefully inspire them to become beekeepers or pick up beekeeping practices, and then fund CTE programs in school or even the Bee Bus itself.
So what is our value proposition? How are we different from what is already being done? First of all, the accessible teaching medium. Obviously, the Bellcat School is in Vermont, and they are a brick and mortar institution. The Be Perfect is online, however, they are missing that face-to-face interaction. And with our mobile classroom setting, we will be able to reach initially the schools in Tucson and eventually the rest of Arizona, and hopefully replicate that model and do it across the United States. So affordability. The Be Perfect is online for the basic beekeeping course. However, to purchase all the equipment you need, it's around a range of $200 to $600. So that places a burden on the person who wants to become a beekeeper. For the Bee Bus, we are looking at approximately $200 per student, and that will be sufficient enough to fund our bus. So career readiness. Not only the Bellcat School is giving education and incorporating agriculture into every step of their education. However, we will take it a step further and make our students career and ready to be in the workforce. And also use of technology. So we're thinking about these 8th and 9th grade students, and how are we going to engage with them and actually get them interested in what we want to show them. So with the use of virtual reality, it will give us that cutting edge technology that not a lot of schools are utilizing. So who is our affected population? Who are we going to impact? First of all, students. They will be our end users. Who are our customers? Who's actually going to pay for this curriculum? Obviously, schools first in the Tucson district area, as well as parents when we incorporate the introduction summer camps, the weekend camps, and then the summer ones. And who are our stakeholders? Who will be interested in the impact we are making? Definitely the Department of Education, as we are making an impact in Arizona and in the education of our students, as well as farmers. They heavily rely on pollinators to make a profit. So definitely beekeeping has become a declining profession, and that's something we want to change. And also environmentalists, there is a decline in bee population and overall in pollinator population. So we want to make an impact and help solve that problem. So we actually went out into the community and made sure that this was something that was going to be viable and applicable to what is happening in the real world. We did interviews and we did surveys. First of all, we interviewed Dr. Robert Torres. He is the head of the agriculture education department here at CALS. He gave us a great insight of what CTE actually is, the philosophy behind CTE, and what aspects of that program we can apply to our program in order to make it successful. Ronnie Olson, she is a assistant professor of practice here at the nutrition department. She is now the coordinator for the new food systems degree. And she has worked a lot with TUSD and implementing the community garden programs. So she gave us her perspective on how we would take rural or agriculture practices into an urban setting. The ICS technicians, we needed a lot of help with our technology, considering that VR is something that is emerging. So what type of platforms we would want to use, what type of equipment, how much would that cost, and what challenges will we encounter considering this has not been done. And also, we had the opportunity to survey 10 parents, and they were immensely interested in our program and indicated that they do find value in CTE and how that can contribute to the education of their students.
So our board of directors will first start off by incorporating a financial advisor. We'll need someone to help look at the financial aspects and expenses to getting a business started. Next, we'll need a teaching consultant. Obviously, our goal is to help teach kids about beekeeping and inspire interest in CTE. So someone who can give us tips and just point us in the right direction when it comes to teaching students will be really important. We'll also need a bee expert. We've all done quite a bit of research on bees, but we're far from experts. Before we go and start teaching kids about bees or even having bees of our own, we definitely need to learn more about bees, and we'll need someone to advise us on that. Lastly, arguably our most important advisor would be our VR expert. One of the big value proposition of our program is that it uses virtual reality, which is a very state-of-the-art and cool technology. We need someone who can keep that technology relevant and keep kids interested in what we're doing. So before we actually launch our bee bus, we're gonna start with a trial run. We expect the trial to cost around $45,000. That cost incorporates buying a few of the VR headsets, designing a basic VR program, and then also just a couple months worth of just general business needs. Once we have, if the trial is a success, if people show interest in the bee bus idea, parents are on board with the idea, and school districts appreciate the added curriculum we bring to them, then we'll go to the next step of launching the bee bus, which would cost a little over $1.1 million. So our next steps, first over the next month, we'd like to survey more parents, and more importantly, we'd like to get more of a teacher perspective on it, talk to more teachers in the community and see what they think. Next would be to do our actual trial, see if we can get kids on board and parents on board to come to more of our presentations. After that, we'd actually, if the trial is a success, we'd start the bee bus itself, or we'd actually renovate a bus and go from school to school teaching kids about bees. Next, we'd start with our weekend introduction classes where parents can drop their kids off for the weekend and they can get a real basic kind of quick course into beekeeping. Lastly, we want to start a summer apprenticeship camp where kids would come for the summer, learn about bees. We would also incorporate the U of A's entomology department in this to make it a really in-depth experience for kids. Thanks for your time. Do you have any questions?
So I'll start. We'll work the opposite way this time. So I love the concept. I have a background in education psychology. Your concept is spot on. And really, your underlying idea is the right one. But let me ask again. I don't know. I mean, you have some numbers up there. But is this a non-profit or a for-profit? If you haven't decided, I'd be curious in your viewpoints.
The way we've kind of set it up so far and discussed it would be a for-profit organization.
All of you?
Yes. we were all on board with for-profit.
Okay.
I too think it's a very creative idea. One of the questions that I continue to have throughout the presentation was, what made you make an intentional link to increasing CTE enrollment as opposed to a for-profit, very creative, instructional, program that's mobile that could go to all kinds of schools? I mean, does the CTE connection muddy the water for you somewhat and narrow it, or do you feel that that was an important component to selling the program to your consumers?
Similar question. Can you elaborate?
I'm a huge proponent of CTE. Anybody that talks to me knows that. But I have felt, at least in my community, that there's a huge break in what CTE is and what people think it is. I never thought that art, culinary, and I come from a very rural area with an agriculture background. I didn't know that it encompassed more than live physical animals or a farm or a ranch. I didn't realize that it encompassed, like I said, culinary and arts and things like that. So to bring kids' interest and cross that over, because there's such a huge opportunity for kids to be more than just go to school, go to school, go to college, this is what we're going to do. You can do both, but be creative in that process. You can kind of bridge that gap between just what we think of as traditional education and CTE.
Continuing on that theme, is the overall idea to encourage them to think more creatively about career paths?
Yes.
Is it an exposure to science? Is it both? I mean,
I think it's a little bit of everything. I mean, if someone else wants to answer that.
Sure. So our exact target for 8th and 9th graders is kind of that point where they're kind of thinking about college, they're going into high school, and so that's where we want to spark interest, and especially in agriculture. We know that there's a declining interest. Most of the people who are in agriculture are like older. Yeah, they're aging out. So we wanted to target that population